You need the tennis ball or fascia ball. You'll need 2 blocks, which I'm sure that you already have. You may want to have a towel. I don't think that you'll need a strap, but it's always good to have one. Let's see, what else? I think that's about it. So we have just a couple more minutes to go. I will start talking about fascia. At the rec centers, I talked an awful lot about your fascia and what it is, and just a quick repeat. Your fascia is a very strong, tough, fibrous network in your body that covers all your muscles and all your organs and ties everything together. And your fascia is an intelligent and responsive body system, has 5 times more nerve endings than your muscles do. So it really collects a lot of information. 70% of its makeup is water. So that's one of the reasons why you want to make sure that you maintain hydration, particularly in our climate down here. Because when your fascia dries out, you get stiff, or your muscles start to cramp up. So being hydrated properly is going to make movement way easier. This fascia collects and sends information that it gathers from all over your body so that it can adapt, and you can adapt to the stresses that you happen to be experiencing at any particular time. And just think about the process of balance. When you're standing and you're trying to do tree pose, or even standing in a line at Publix, your balance is done without intervention of your brain. It's that balance is delivered to you primarily by your fascia system. It senses that, oh, I'm moving this way, so my hip has to come the same direction so I can stay upright. So one of the more important parts of your fascia, and it's a bane to many people from time to time, and about, maybe probably 20 years ago, my plantar fascia was in really bad shape, and I had plantar fasciitis, which feels like somebody's driving a nail right into the middle of your foot. Well, we're going to start today one of the few yin classes that we've ever started in a standing position. So grab your tennis ball, or your fascia ball, or your pickleball, and stand up, and get your feet whatever distance apart feels comfortable for you, and just put your ball down so that it's close by. You can reach it with a foot. And from here, lift your toes up, spread them, put them back down. Maybe just wriggle your feet a little bit, just so that you can feel how your mat and your feet are engaging. What is that sensation? And again, you're just observing right now, because the bottom of your feet of each foot is going to feel a little bit different here in a few minutes. So to start, get your fascia ball or your tennis ball and put it under the middle of your foot, but keep your heel on the mat. Now, align this equal distant east and west and north and south, and then begin to bring a little bit of weight down. And you may bring only a couple of pounds and it may become really terrifying, really strong sensation. Well, back up on that. Maybe just push down a little bit. Do that a couple of times. You can allow your toes to curl over. And then just hang out here for a moment. When you have a reasonable amount of sensation, although it's nothing that's really going to get you all excited and ready to call 911. What you're doing here is you're beginning to tell your fascia that something is going to be happening here. And then bring that ball back a little bit, step off of the ball, and now bring that ball to the front edge of your heel. Now, I'll come closer to the camera. Where I'm talking about is right in front of your heel here. That is where your plantar fascia connects with your heel. It doesn't come into the bottom, it comes into the front side of your heel. And because of that, you're not walking on that fascia directly. So from here, your toes are down. Again, bring some weight into it. You may be able to bring a little bit more, but I want to emphasize you're not on your heel itself. You're in front of the heel on the soft part. And then begin to move that foot a little bit left and right so that you are rolling that ball across the full width of your plantar fascia. You're beginning the stimulation. And then pause there. Now move the ball to the middle of your heel so that you can put quite a bit of weight on it. You're not trying to burst the tennis ball or balance on it, but just put enough in there so that, again, you can feel it. And then begin to shake that heel, keeping your toes on the mat. So you're rolling that ball really quick. Now, this takes a lot of coordination, and that's something I don't have. And I've done this a number of times, and it's always a little embarrassing because I always feel I should be way better at this than I am. But hey, it is what it is. But you're getting the sensation into the bottom of your foot, and then pause. Now, bring that ball a little bit, about in line with the ball of your left foot, and then bring the base of your middle toe on top of that ball. And then gently lift your heel up and then push that ball forward so that that fascia ball comes all the way down to your heel. And when you do that, just bring it back and do that under the next toe over. And you can adjust the amount of weight that you put on, because as you come to the center of your arch, it's going to be more sensitive. But what you're doing here is you're drawing the lymph from your foot and you're pumping it back into your body. And keep this going. Go over to the inside of that foot and the outside. And you don't have to stay with me. You may find this is really easy. And if it is, that's good. But if you're finding it that it's pretty sensitive, kind of like you're walking on rocks, that's good. you're breaking up that fascia a little bit, stimulating a little bit more growth, stimulating a little bit more water, and you're making that fascia more responsive. And then next time, just pause. Now place the ball in the middle of your foot and pretend that that ball has paint on it and you want to paint the floor underneath your foot. So just begin to wander your foot around so that that foot comes all completely over that ball at one time or another. Left, right, forward, figure eights, doesn't matter. You just want a point of contact between the ball and your foot. And then release the ball, just keep it there, and then stand back up like you did at the beginning. Close your eyes and observe the bottoms of your feet. Does one foot feel warmer than the other? Or softer? Maybe lift your toes and place your toes back down. Maybe one side just feels better. And then look back down at that ball. Move it over onto the center of your left foot. And you'll do the same thing on the other side. And don't expect this side to be different or anything close to the same. Mine are radically different. So starting right in the center of that foot. Now, if it's just too much that you can't put any weight on it, just move your foot 1/8 of an inch one way or another. Maybe search a point that's tolerable and then bring some weight into it. Relax your toes, maybe let those toes curl down again. And as you pause, maybe you can feel your fascia softening. And if it's just as tough as it was a few moments ago, move it again. Again, this is just the beginning, waking up your tissues. And then bring that ball back, step off, and then bring that ball on the front side of your heel, on the left side. And then bring enough weight there so it feels good. And again, that might be different than the right foot. You may have the heel on the left that's a lot more sensitive than the one on the right, but the center of your foot is a lot less sensitive. And now begin to roll that ball from one side of your foot to the other, right in front of that heel. So you're massaging the whole width of that plantar fascia. And then pause. Just move your foot forward just an inch or so that your heel is right on top of the ball. And then spread your toes wide. And then begin to rock from left to right. Start slowly. And then faster. And then pause. From here, get off the ball. And then place the base of your middle toe right on top of that ball. Again, this is really hard, but then make sure that you're balanced and then push that ball forward so that the bottom of your foot gets that massage, and then bring it back. Go over to the next toe over, and then the next, and just continue that. What you're doing is you're getting that lymph, and the weight should be on only as you're pushing the ball forward, because you want to move that lymph away from your feet. Then your body will recognize that it needs to send more down there, and it will. And that will promote the circulation of your lymph system. And then pause there. Now, with that ball underneath that right foot, begin to paint that floor. And paint it quickly. You can scribble, you can write graffiti. You can even write a political slogan if you wish. And the next time you come to center pause, step off that ball, bring your feet to that comfortable distance apart, straighten your spine, close your eyes, lift all 10 toes, and lower them back down. And observe your feet. Can you feel the difference between the bottom of your foot and the mat? You've increased your blood flow. You've increased the amount of water in that fascia, and you've moved the lymph so that you're going to get more replacement. Then carefully move the ball aside so that you don't trip over it. And the one thing I forgot to tell you is that you need a wall today. And if you don't have a wall available, and it doesn't have to be a completely clear wall, like I'm going to use this wall here that has the mirror on it, and just walk up to it with your back towards it. I'm going to ask you to do a forward fold, but make sure that your feet are at least a full foot length in front of the wall. Because as you forward fold, and your feet can be any width apart that you feel comfortable. As you forward fold, you get to a point, and then just lean back so that the wall keeps you upright. So you don't have to think about balancing here. And if you find out that you want to move your feet a little bit wider, go ahead. But just forward fold, taking the crown of your head down towards the mat. Maybe if you want, you can cross your arms, holding opposite elbows, and hang in ragdoll. Maybe rock a little bit left and right. And know that you don't have to worry about falling over. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose. And exhale it all out through your mouth. Take another deep cleansing breath into your nose. Let it all out through your mouth. And then just watch your breath here. If you want to straightness your legs a little more, you can. If you don't, that's fine too. Feel the stretch of your spine. Feel your shoulders being pulled off to the sides of your body. And then, deepen your breath. If you're just off of your mat, you can open your eyes and just come down into a table pose. But if you're off your mat and you have to walk a ways, bring your hands to your thighs. Inhale, come up halfway. Take a breath. And then, over the next 3 breaths, begin to rise all the way up. You definitely do not want a head rush here. And when you come up, you're almost upright. Bring your hips off the wall. And carefully walk back to your mat. Coming into table. And do a couple of cat-cows here. Make sure your knees are below your hips, your wrist crease below your shoulders. On an inhale, your belly drops, chin and chest come forward, your sit bones lift and separate. And then exhale, round your spine like an angry cat, tuck your tailbone. And a couple more times. For the counter pose for that forward fold, we're going to do puppy dog, or as I'm often calling it, bleeding heart. But from here, walk your hands to the right side of your mat, and maybe even all the way off your mat. This is going to be a combination of a back bend and a side bend. So with your hands off the mat, look straight down to where your eyeballs would be if they were on the mat. And then slowly walk your hands forward and lower your forehead down. Maybe you can get to the mat, maybe not. If you need to use a block or a towel, do that. And feel this big stretch on your left side body. And feel your breath here. This is an asymmetric pose, which means that you're only doing it on one side, but that's an advantage sometimes, because if you have an issue with part of your back or part of your shoulder, one side is more accessible than the other. So take advantage of this to stretch your left side body. And use your breath to lengthen that left side. And if you want a little bit more stretch, maybe just back your hips up a little bit more. Lengthening the position or the distance between your hands and your knees. Or your hands and your hips, I'm sorry. Your knees aren't moving. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, come back up. Walk your hands in. And then walk your hands all the way past the center line, over to the left. And feel how good that feels right now. Get your spine straightish over towards the left. And then when you're ready, walk your hands forward, lowering your head down into a sway back, bleeding heart, puppy dog. And feel the difference on this side. If your shoulders are different, you're feeling this different. You're stretching your belly here. You're stretching your rectus abdominis, which is the main abdominal muscles that run all the way from the top of your body down to your pelvis. You're engaging your obliques, those muscles on the lower side body that twist your body. And use your breath here. Maybe breathe into your kidneys here, inflating your back body. Discover a new part of your lungs here. And then on your next inhale, begin walking your hands back. Come back into table. Do a couple more cat-cows. Feel how delicious that cow and the cat feel. Because bending your spine frontwards and backwards is the perfect counterpose to a side bend. You're flexing your shoulders and your hips. And the next pose you're going to do is a face down spinal twist. So walk your hands and knees towards the left side of your mat. And then bring your right hip down onto the mat. And face your chest towards the front of your mat. Now, if you have a tender chest or you've had surgery, use a block or a towel or a blanket underneath. And then walk your hands forward, bringing your chest down. And then walk your hands out to the side in T. And maybe if your head is in agreement, gaze over towards your right fingertips. If that's too much on your cervical spine, don't do it. You can gaze off towards your left fingers, or you can just bring your chin to the mat. It's all good. Here you're in a true twist. And you're opening up that right shoulder. Maybe you can feel this across your pecs. You certainly can feel this across your left obliques, which is, they run just above your left hip up to your front of your left ribs. Soften your thighs. Soften your glutes here. Maybe you can soften your shoulders. See how that works for you. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your arms back in close to your chest. Push the floor away, lifting your chest. Come back up into table. Do a cat-cow here. Do a couple. Relish this final movement. If you're back at the center of your mat, walk your hands and knees over to the left side again. And from here, lift your left foot up and place it on the back wall. That leg should be roughly parallel to the floor. And then coming into shoelace on the right side, meaning the right leg is on top, bring that left knee behind the right. And then spread your feet towards the opposite sides of the mat. Walk your hands back. Maybe you need a block underneath your sit bones, maybe not. But whatever is best for your body right now, that's what you want to do. And there are many other options here. If this doesn't work for you, and you want to bring your legs farther forward, go ahead. Or if this is just too tight on your knees, just bring your knees farther apart so that they're not adducted. Or you can straighten out that bottom leg out towards the front of the mat and just keep that right leg bent over the top. So there are lots of options. You should be feeling this in your right glutes and your right hip, that hip socket. I'm going to bend this leg back because for me that is easier than putting that leg out in the front. And then from here, take your left hand, palm up, towards the right front corner of your mat. Take your right elbow, hook it underneath the left. Maybe you can bring your palms together. Maybe it's just the backs of your wrists or your forearms come together. And maybe you can't get there. And if you can't get there, just grab opposite shoulders and feel the stretch across your back where your shoulder blades are being pulled apart. On your front body, your clavicles, your collarbones are as close as they are ever going to get. If you could release a hand and feel, there's almost no space between your clavicles right now. Allow your eyes to close here for a moment. And urge your shoulders to soften. Maybe push your elbows forward and allow your shoulder blades to draw down towards your hips. And then just rest into the pose, sink in. Then on your next exhale, release your arms. Bring your arms out wide. Reach your chest high. And then bring your palms together. Interlace your fingers. Supinate your palms. And then over a couple of breaths, raise your arms up and feel your muscles as one gives way to the next, as your shoulders open up. And pause when you get overhead. And then release that bind, both hands up, bend your right elbow, pat yourself on the back. Take your left arm out to the side, thumb down, bend that elbow, bring your left hand behind your back, and climb the back of your spine up, and maybe you can make a bind with your hands. If you've been doing all my Ashtanga classes recently with all those vinyasas, your shoulders are much tighter. So this might be more of a challenge, which is a good reason to do this pose, to open up your shoulders more. And then release. Bend your elbows like into robot arms. Then make tiny little fists like you're grabbing onto some baby birds. And then just rock your shoulders, your elbows frontwards and backward as a counter pose. And then release. From here, to get out of this, help your legs come frontwards. The next pose is going to be caterpillar, but you need to do a counter pose first. So stretch your legs way out in front. Bring your toes up towards the ceiling. Maybe rock from hip to hip, lifting your top hip all the way off the mat. Stretching your heel and then your toes towards the front. And then come into caterpillar, which is a seated pose. You can use a block if you wish. By using a block, you let gravity help you. Inhale your spine tall. Push your heels away. And the first part of this is going to be directed at your hamstrings. Caterpillar can either be directed at your spine or at your hamstrings, but it's pretty hard to do both. So from here to start, inhale tall, and then with a straight back, walk your hands forward, drawing your collarbones towards your feet, and feel that stretch in your hamstrings, on the backs of your thighs, You can feel that through your calves, all the way down into your Achilles. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, sit back up. This time, if you're on a block, just come off of it. And this time, you don't have to tilt your pelvis forward, because what I'd like you to do is to lengthen your spine. So here, your knees can be bent a little or a lot. Inhale your spine tall, and then exhale, draw your chest forward, but allow your collarbones to come down and your head come towards your knees, rounding your spine. And when you get to the point that you want, just pause there. Now this is a symmetric pose, so it's more difficult than if we were doing a half butterfly, which we're going to do tomorrow. But this is just to round your spine on the second end of this caterpillar. But feel the roundness. Feel your spine here as it's rounding all the way from your lumbar spine, just above your sacrum, through your thoracic spine. And just release everything. Let your head fall forward. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back. Straighten up your spine. Bring your hands behind your hips and your knees, bringing your feet flat on the mat, about hip width apart. And then tuck your tailbone under. And on an inhale, lift your hips up towards the ceiling into reverse table. And this little back bend that you're doing here is a nice counter to caterpillar. And then release back down. Next pose is shoelace on the other side. So if you can get into shoelace from this position, you're welcome to do that. If you're like me, I have zero chance of getting there. Just bring your feet off to one side, come back up into table. Bring your table over to the right side of the mat. Lift your right foot up and back. Really stretch out that heel so it stretches your hamstring. And then bring that left knee behind the right. Spread your feet wide. And then walk your hands back into shoelace with your left knee on top. And again, you have all those same options that you had on the front side. There is no perfect pose because everybody's body is different. Even identical twins, their bones are different because of their life experiences. So inhale your spine tall, tuck your chin in a little bit. Maybe you want to let your eyes close. And then bring your right palm face up towards the front left corner of your mat. Then take your left elbow underneath your right. And then maybe you can bring your palms together into eagle arms on this side. I'm quite a ways away from that. And you may be too, which is fine. You're still getting the stretch across your shoulders, still getting that inward rotation, the adducting of your shoulders. And again, if that's too difficult or it hurts, just grab opposite shoulders. It all works. Now maybe to create a little bit more space in your body, you can lift your elbows up a little bit, maybe push them forward. Might feel like it should have been 3 inches, even though it was only a 16th. And then let gravity take over again. Let your arms just cradle back into your body and let gravity do its work. Soften your glutes. You should be feeling this in your left glute, your left hip, and then both shoulders. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release. Bring your arms out wide. Pull your shoulders back, opening them up into the opposite direction. And then bring your palms together. Interlace your fingers the wrong way with your opposite thumb on top. Supinate your fingers again. And this time, as you go up, again, pay attention, but compare what it was like on the other side. Unless you're ambidextrous, one side is much tighter than the other. And when you get overhead, pause there and release. Bring your left arm up to the ceiling, pat yourself on the back. Take your right arm out to the side, thumb down, and that elbow. Bring it around behind you and walk that elbow up your spine. And maybe you can get a bind on this side. Maybe not. If one shoulder is more of a challenge, maybe you're using a strap, maybe you're grabbed onto your t-shirt. Or maybe you just have released because you hurt. And that is taking care of your body, which is what you should be doing. On your next exhale, release. Bend your elbows into robot arms. Grab your baby birds, and then rock your elbows frontwards and backwards. And the next time you come to center, pause. The next pose is face down spinal twist again. So maybe to get there, it would be better just to roll over your knees, if that works for you. And for me, I like that because I can go into table and then lift my hips up and back into downward facing dog, which is a great counter to shoelace. And then carefully lower your knees. Come over onto the right side of your mat. Bring your left hip down so that your thighs are parallel to the short side of your mat. Look towards the front. And walk your hands forward, bringing your chest down onto the mat or onto a block or onto a blanket. Maybe you can gaze off towards your left fingers, maybe off towards your right. But whatever you do, do not overstress your neck. And in this position, observe what you're feeling. Feel the twist. Feel your obliques that are doing a lot of the work. But let them rest. They run right around your side body. So try softening your kidney area. And right at the base of your ribs, soften your abdomen. Soften your shoulders. Your shoulders don't have to stay, your upper arms don't have to stay straight. You can bend elbows if you wish. Only keep them straight if that's best for you. Use your breath to explore the far reaches of your lungs. Maybe you can get breath down into that lower left kidney. You have to move a lot of your body and the weight with your breath. But then see what the right side feels like. Do what feels best for you. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, bring your hands back closer to your chest. Lift your chest up. Come up onto that left hip. Swing your feet around to the front of the mat. Stretch your legs out long. Come down onto your elbows and then onto your back. Raise your arms up towards the ceiling and then towards the wall beyond your head, and stretch from your heels to your palms, to your toes, to your fingers. And then bring your hands back down by your sides. Bend your knees. Walk your feet up towards your sit bones. Drawing your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And then make some big circles with your knees on the ceiling. First one direction. And then the other. And the next time you come to center, pause. Release one leg towards the front corner of your mat. And then the other. Bring your arms back down by your side. Lift your palms up. We're going to do the 2-block Shavasana. So use one of your 2 blocks just above your shoulder blades. And then use a second block beneath your head so that it acts as a pillow. So it might take a little doing to get the block, the first block, located properly. But just get it right at the base of your shoulder blades. And then the other block can be either the flat or the medium height. And from here, bring your arms out into T. Really stretch them out. Stretch your feet out to the corners of your mat. And then just let gravity take over. Let your wrists and your forearms come to the mat so that your shoulders are open and being drawn down into earth. Release your feet and your toes to whatever direction you want to go. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose and let it all out through your mouth. And one more. And release. And take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and to your toes, to your wrists and to your ankles. Carefully rock your head from left to right, making sure you don't fall off the block. And then lift your head an inch and remove that block from behind your head. Set it aside. Roll to one side or the other. And brush that other block away. And come back onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze and rock from left to right. And come all the way on to your right side and pause there for just a moment. Allow the muscles that you have engaged to seal in what they learned today. And then using the strength of your left hand, push the floor away and rise up into a seated position. Thank you for sharing your practice with me this afternoon. I hope you liked this class. It certainly worked your shoulders, your spine, and your hips. Take the compassion and the empathy and the peace that you practice on your mat home with you. Share it with your family, your friends, and all that you meet. Namaste. My name's Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga.